Okay, that didn't work. We'll just put the hat on. Anyway, hello from Paris. I have come to watch the World Cup quarterfinals, not actually going to any of the games, but being in England, I thought it would be pretty bad if I didn't just come over to the tournament and at least witness some games in the pubs and just kind of be in the fan zone. So yeah, I'm going to do another video later on in a week or two, kind of detailing my trip and stuff like that. But focusing this video on Ireland, New Zealand, wow, this was a hell of a game. I think as an advertisement for rugby, for people that aren't huge fans, this is probably the greatest advertisement we've had so far at the tournament. I think, yes, South Africa-Ireland was a really great game, but probably more for rugby fans themselves. But the things on show here in terms of the attacking potential of both teams just was really kind of shone through. And it's a real shame for Ireland. They've spent the last 4 years domestically kind of tying in with the international team to kind of get them to a point where they were probably the most competitive I've seen them in the World Cup. And it's a shame because they didn't kind of falter as they have in other World Cups. They didn't kind of peak too early. They played fantastically today, but they just came short. And I guess it just shows that, like, no matter what you do, even if you throw everything, you prepare well and you play well, at the end of the day, you're playing another opposition that is also equally trying to win a game and also equally as talented, especially New Zealand, who obviously they haven't been the best over the last 4 years. They haven't been at their absolute peak, but today we kind of saw them kind of come back to that form that we've known them for so long beforehand to come to. They look like a true New Zealand team today. But yes, where did I think this game was won? Well, I think New Zealand's game plan for Ireland was much better than Ireland's game plan for New Zealand. New Zealand looked very key to try and attack the breakdown. They were like, I don't know, they were like flies, they were like wasps, they were like something very quick on the ball. It was obviously a game plan tactic to always have somebody to go straight over the breakdown and try and turn the ball over. They must have seen something in the preparation for the game in terms of, we can see an opportunity here where we can turn the ball over and get in Ireland's way and take the ball away from them. They seem to know Ireland's line-out calls. There was so many occasions where it seemed like either Brodie Retallick or Sam Whitelock came on later, but Scott Barrett was up in the air and in front of the Irish man in the line-out to try and get the ball from them, and it was really, really successful in countering their line-out. They won at scrum time in terms of penalties. I think it was a bit of a controversial call sometimes, where New Zealand were given the penalty every now and again. Yes, I think there were some scrums that they did win legitimately, but there are others where I felt like Ireland were dominant and Andrew Porter would get called for not driving straight, and I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, I would have liked to see that again. But in reality, if playing the ref, they were dominant in terms of a definition of that. New Zealand also had a tactic clearly of going up and under, and I found it quite funny to watch this because as an England fan, we keep doing this up and under and it goes to absolutely nothing. New Zealand showed an example of using the up and under incredibly effectively. It was kicking into space. I remember multiple occasions of Richie Mo'unga doing it, Beauden Barrett doing it, and it really was a great way to break Ireland's defensive line and get in the gay line, and I think a few points were scored from there. I think the Aaron Smith yellow card was probably a little bit harsh. The other yellow card, however, was fully justified for New Zealand, and it's really impressive that they managed to win this game with 60 minutes, we're only 60 minutes of having a full 15 on the pitch. Now, on to Ireland. So, Ireland's game plan was, it felt very similar to the South Africa game, and I wouldn't call this, it's not lazy game planning, but to try and do the same tactics against two very different teams, I think was wrong. They kept kicking for the corner. They were trying to mentally win the battle like they did against South Africa. And I mean, not only was it successful against South Africa because it worked, but you have to kind of front up South Africa. You have to beat them at the physical game. You have to get under their skin. You have to make them feel like they're getting beaten. New Zealand, I don't feel like they have that same mentality. New Zealand, you got to try and beat them in terms of, like, just beat them. You just have to score more points than them, take the opportunities you have because they'll be few and far between, and you need to play smart. And they didn't do that. They wanted to go for the corner. They wanted to score the tries, and it started to break through later in the game. But I can't think the amount of kicks that they went for the corner, and they could have gone for 3 points, and they might have won the game if they had done that. If they had just taken the points that were in front of them, kept the scoreboard ticking over, up the pressure on New Zealand, and yeah, I didn't like it. The usual attacking move of kind of Sexton getting the ball, passing it, and then the ball coming back on the inside. I couldn't work it out when I was watching the game, but it wasn't effective. New Zealand must have been planning for it, and it just seemed to be completely stifled. I don't know whether it was like a really disciplined defensive line for New Zealand where everyone just didn't kind of buy in by getting sucked in, but it was ineffective, and Ireland runners often got isolated from it, talking about and leading to the turnover battle that I was talking about earlier in terms of New Zealand definitely attacking the breakdown massively. Just having a look through some further notes here. Ireland kind of got more into the game. They started warning more of their lineouts in the second half. They really kind of got it a little bit more together. I think the main thing for me and why Ireland lost is that this is the first time I can remember in recent memory where they had a game plan, they had their style of rugby, and it didn't work for them. Like even in like losses before, their game plan and their game style, you could argue, worked. You know, it was the right thing to do. But their game plan and their game style for this game clearly was not working. They had to make a change. Maybe they needed to, as I said, take the points when they were on offer, keep it away from the line out, because they were losing it, maybe go for scrums if they were on a 5 metre line, something like that. But they didn't change the game plan. They were challenged to change what they were doing, have a change of tactics. Okay, plan A's not worked, time to go to plan B. And I don't know if it's not because they didn't have a plan B. I'm sure they did. I mean, this is like a top professional team, but they didn't decide to go for plan B. They decided to keep doing what they're doing, just keep kind of hitting their head against a brick wall a little bit. And it kind of really was summarised in the last build-up of play where they did a superb attacking play, kept going over the gain line, but they just ended up feeling like they were just tiring themselves out, just hitting into a wall. And eventually, I mean, what happens at the end? It's a turnover at the breakdown, and that was really a summary of the game. So, as I said, really disappointing for Ireland considering how much they prepared and how good they've looked this tournament as well. But you know, this was a fantastic New Zealand performance, and it's a shame, I say this with a lot of games, but it's a shame that one of these teams had to go home. They both played fantastically, but they both deserve to be in a semi-final, and that's it. Can't wait to see what New Zealand do. And I'm interested to see what Ireland do. Obviously, Sexton's probably going to retire, well, I think he is going to retire now. They've got to build up for, obviously the Six Nations coming next February. They've got to work out how they're going to build for the next World Cup, and I'm fascinated to see how they do that. I'm sure they've got a great plan for it. So that's it. It's my review for the game.